Hello war gamers. What I'm going to do today is show you some items that I got in the mail. This is the first major purchase I've done of miniatures for my gaming. I specifically got some Plastic Soldier Company models, and I just want to share with you what I got. I was just so excited. I was like, oh hey, other people share what they got in the mail. My turn. So today I got a box of some Russian T-34s. I got a box of some Panzer IVs. I got late war German infantry. I then got their heavy weapons came in. And I also got my Russian heavy weapons. Now, I already have a box of Russian infantry that I bought previously, and then I had some German infantry from another company, and so I wanted to get some Plastic Soldier Company German soldiers because they look a lot better than the other ones I have. So that also goes with my collection of, I misplaced my box, but I got my StuG IIIs in today as well. I got some StuGs that Plastic Soldier Company makes. So that's everything that came in the mail. And what I want to do is also kind of share with you what some of this stuff looks like coming out of the box. If you're not too familiar with Plastic Soldier Company, I fell in love. I thought they're really good. This is all 20mm scale that I have here. They also make 15mm, and they just started releasing some 28. They've only got a couple products in 28mm, so that'd be good for like bolt action. But 20mm, they don't have as much as their 15mm, but they're slowly expanding it. Now, I'm really excited because I enjoyed putting these together. I haven't put everything together. I just got them. I'm not that fast. But I wanted to show you some things that I've discovered with my new hobby here. I'm really new, and so I've been experimenting with how to put these things together, how to paint them. I just wanted to share some of my pain because it's not easy. It's not at all. And when I see some of these guys who put these fabulous looking models together, I just want to cry because when I try it, it just all kind of turns out like mud. So let's see some of the things I put together. Now, T-34s I've actually got 3 boxes of, and with the Plastic Soldier Company and the 20mm scale, so far 3 vehicles come to a box. So that gives me 9 T-34s. I gotta buy one more T-34 box so I have a company. But the T-34s are awesome. Probably the biggest reason why I love the Plastic Soldier Company tanks is if you build them right, which I didn't, you can really customize these things on the fly. Okay, so here's a T-34, since that's what I was talking about. The T-34 for Plastic Soldier Company comes in 2 variants. It's got the 76 and the 85. That's the size of the gun. So you've got the older model and the newer model. So they put together really nice. There's not a whole lot of parts. The track comes in 3 pieces. You got some additional little components you can put on, toolboxes, gas cans. I've put gas cans where, you know, there's 2. I've done just 1 here, just so I can make them look a little different. The turret, though, this is what I like about Plastic Soldier Company. What I can do is I can actually pop, not very well with one hand, but if I pop this turret off, I can then take the 85 version and put it in place. I haven't magnetized these. Haven't mastered that yet. But now I essentially have 2 models. I mean, obviously I can't play them at the same time, but I mean, you have 2 variants at your disposal, so you don't have to buy like 2 boxes and decide which model to make them. Now, when you take a look at the Panzer IV that they do, is very similar. You get several variants. You get the older F version, like the later F version, then there's a G variant. This here, the only real difference I noticed between the G and the H is this little like muffler. I don't even know what that is. I just call it a muffler. The G version does not have that little muffler. I had to look on the internet to figure out where this went because the instructions for these models are okay, but they're not super good at really showing you how stuff goes. So I had to look up the H model. This little muffler gets added, and then the shirts and the little side skirts. Now I left the side skirts off because as I researched my little bit, I found that the H model went with or without Schertzen, and Battlegroup Kursk actually models that in the rules. You can play your tank with or without Schertzen, and it has armor rules to cover that. So what I did was, in the future, I'm going to magnetize my Schertzen. Well, it's a dream, but if I can magnetize the Schertzen, then I can add them quickly, take them off, put them on when I want. But as it stands, this really can play as an H model without the Schertzen or the G model. Just pretend that that little muffler is there if you use this as a G version. So if I had also planned it out better, I would have magnetized these, your barrel. That way I could swap it out to be the different versions as well. See, this is the H model barrel. So if you're playing someone who's like super knowledgeable on tanks, they'll probably say, hey, that's an H model, you can't play that. But if you magnetized your barrels and swap them out, then you've really got a lot of flexibility with your tank. Now, let's take a look at the T-34. This is what my T-34 looks like pre-painted. Alright. This is actually interesting because Plastic Soldier Company has released two versions of the T-34. They have the older one, and then they have the new tooled edition. So this right here, this tan color, that's what the original T-34s came as. The newer ones, here I'm going to show you this. Let's take a look at the T-34 history here. The newer T-34s came in this gray colored sprue. Now exactly what was retooled I'm not sure, because when I know this is odd, but when I take the sprues for the T-34 and line up the old sprue and the new sprue, I mean they match up like exactly. So I think I remember reading somewhere that they were able to more accurately reproduce the barrel thicknesses, but I didn't really notice it. Like if I take these two turrets and put those barrels, I mean they're like real similar there. And then if I take the finished barrel, oh well, actually, you know what? I stand corrected. If I take the newer barrel and put it up against the old barrel, here the tan is the older barrel. I know that probably looks terrible to try and compare, but in fact, the new tooled 85 barrel is a lot thinner, so it's probably more realistic. So that's what they retooled. So the layout of the sprue is exactly the same. Where they changed was the thickness of this barrel. It's a little smaller. Okay, well I solved that mystery. Plus, when you do order your tanks, depending on who you order from, they may not specify if you're getting the new tooling of your T-34 or the old tooling. Where I ordered from really didn't say, it just had the T-34. I was fortunate to get the new tooling the first time out. My last two boxes have been the older tooling. So that's that. I know I was curious what they meant by old and new tooling, and that's what they mean. So mystery solved. Now when I was painting, so I've been experimenting with a lot of painting techniques. So let's talk a little bit about that. That's been a journey. I've done airbrushing. I've tried different dry brushing techniques, dirt techniques, rust effects, because I've never done this before, so it's been kind of fun. But I've also learned that sometimes if you try all these different techniques on the same tank, they really start to get bogged down with grime and gunk, which could be good if that's the look you're going for. But like for here, shading, for instance, I've tried using thinner with some thinner in the black paint. I've tried using black acrylic with half water. I've even gone as far as to do the polyurethane dip method. I've tried all kinds of stuff on these vehicles. To get mud, I've taken some what was it, flour, cooking flour and paint, and caked on some mud here. You can kind of see it coming in. Which actually that one the mud turned out pretty good, I think. So this tank has gotten a lot of grime because I have practiced all kinds of painting techniques. The only thing I haven't really experimented with yet is putty and filling gaps. I figure baby steps, let's just practice a few things at a time. What I've done with this tank here, now this was a technique that I learned that was pretty good. What I did was I painted the entire base a rust color. And when I'm moving the tank, I'm not letting it focus. But what I did after I painted the base a rust color is I then sprayed it with a matte varnish. Then I took a wet Q-tip and kind of rubbed it on some of these edges and corners. So like right through here, what it did was it scraped off that green and it showed that rust underneath. So it's not quite a chipping, it's like someone called it the hairspray, except I didn't use hairspray chipping technique for paint. But what I did was I used it so the rust would come through. So I got a lot of rust in spots. And I think the technique in theory is really good. I just have to decide if I want to continue doing it as rust or actually paint a base color and chip it. And then what I did to get that shading effect is I actually went ahead and bought black shade. And what I've learned, the best way to apply that black shade, here I did on the Panzer IV. I took some of that black shade like right out of the paint bottle and stuck it on there. And the problem is it comes out really thick, kind of syrupy if you will, and it more coated than seeped into the cracks and crevices. So on the second application, when I was trying it again, I mixed it with a little bit of water and it actually flowed a lot better. So just little things that I'm learning as I go. Don't be afraid to mix things with water. Now here I did a lot of mud on some of my other tanks here, so I put a lot of that mud effect on there. And also, if you're starting to learn how to put these models together like I am, don't be afraid to cheat and not paint the bottom. Oh, I can't believe I'm showing that. I know there's probably some people out there who just passed out and unsubscribed and burned their monitor. But yeah, I do that. I don't paint the bottom. But then I try to see, here's some of my rusting. Yeah, so trying to weather them up, but it's all part of the fun is just figuring out how you want to paint them. Come on, focus. Or not focus. There's a little bit of focus. So half the fun is trying out different techniques to paint these things. So let's take a look at some of these. Boy, I wish I had my, I don't know what happened to my StuG box. Oh, I know what happened. I let my son play with it. I let my son play with the StuG box, but I was going to show you what comes inside the StuG box, what the sprue looks like, and then I want to show you how they look kind of put together. So instead, you just have to look at the StuGs assembled. Now I've only done two. Now the StuG box from Plastic Soldier comes with enough to do 3 variants. There's the I'm not quite sure exactly, I'm not that knowledgeable, but there was like an F model, it said, a G model with 2 types of barrels, and then it had, I think the F model was like a 105mm kind of assault gun version, more of a howitzery type, and then these here are more of the anti-tank variants, and they have the different barrel housings. Now what I did with my StuGs is I just went with the basic machine gun. There's also a gun shield variant that you could put. I just kind of went with this basic assembly here. Now this is what I did with my StuGs and why I really like the Plastic Soldier company. First, with the shirts in, I went ahead and glued these on. I haven't quite figured out how I would magnetize the shirts in, but instead of magnetizing the barrels like I would maybe on the Panzer IVs, I just simply didn't glue them in place. So look at this. If I pop this barrel out, I could now put in one of my alternate barrels in place. So for example, if whatever model this was, if this isn't what I wanted to represent or game with, I can now just pop that barrel out and then say swap in this barrel instead. So even though Plastic Soldier Company doesn't pay me or give me any free product for these great service announcements, I just want you to know that this is why I went with these models over some other companies, is the fact that with just a little bit of tinkering, you can set these up to be any of the variants in the box. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to get several different versions. So it's worked out great for the T-34s. The Panzer IVs, if I fake it a little bit better, the battery died to the camera. So as I was saying, with the Panzer IV, just a little bit of finagling, and I'll show you here with the sprues, you could run all the variants for your Panzer IV. So let's just take a look at the sprue. Now to make the different variants, what you could do, very similar to the StuG, where you just swap out the barrel, they have that here with the Panzer IV. The Panzer IV, when you pull it out of the box, this is probably the most complex of the tank models I've seen so far. It comes on 2 sprues, whereas the other variants, we'll take a look here at, say, I found my StuG box while the battery was charging. The T-34 and the StuG, they both come on 1 sprue. Everything comes on 1 sprue, but your Panzer IV comes on 2 sprues. There's your tank tracks come in 4 pieces. I thought I said 3 pieces for the... Actually, there's about 5 pieces for the tracks here. There's a front wheel, rear wheel, well, here, this piece for all the tracks and the idle wheels, and then the tracks right here come in 2 pieces. So it's like 5 pieces for your tracks. Then is very similar over here. You got to put in like your sprocket, idler wheel, front road wheel, tracks, and then here's all your other idler wheels. So the Panzer IV is a little more complex as far as how many pieces, but specifically if you're doing your barrels, the way that they come is, here's the mantlet. You have a mantlet for the bigger gun, which is the G and H model, and then you have the smaller gun for the F model. So you would be able to put your gun into the appropriate mantlet. Then what you could probably do is just magnetize the mantlet and swap it out to the turret. Now if you're not a history purist, you probably could really get away with using 1 mantlet and then just swapping the barrel, not glue the barrel in place, but just stick it in and then just swap out the barrel so you can represent the F model or G or H. So there's the sprue for that. So just kind of wrap things up. Well, I never just wrap things up, but here again is the sprue. This is what it looks like for the StuG. Everything is on 1 sprue. There's your different barrels, different gun mantlets, all your barrels. So you have 3 models of StuG right there, and all you got to do really is swap out either the mantlet and barrel piece. Real easy for this model here. And then like I showed you with the T-34, super easy to swap that out. You just swap out the whole turret because you come with 2 different turret types. Now your other boxes, this is what the infantry look like. You get 3 sprues, and that would give you 3 poses each. Try not to break anything here. Just to kind of quickly show you what you get. You know, maybe you can pause this and stare and be impressed by what you see here. So that was the late war German infantry. Here is the heavy weapons. So there is some assembly required on the heavy weapons. See if I can get that to focus a little bit for you. But again, this has got 3 sprues with figures, 3 of each. And then here are the Russian heavy weapons I got. That also is 3 sprues, so you got 3 each. And then the German infantry box, but you can imagine what the sprue for that would look like. And then there's the box for the Panzer IV. Now, as far as the painting, just another, I found this on the floor. Here's the one of the sprues I did for the StuG. I left the Scherzen on, left some of the barrels, and the commander, I didn't take him out. Just moving that so I don't step on it. Now, this is a model I have here. This is from Armorfast. So just to compare kind of what I would call like the wargame model, because there is a big difference between a regular tank model and say a wargaming model. Now the company Armorfast has been around longer than Plastic Soldier Company, and I didn't mind buying them because their kit came with 2 models to a box. So not quite 3, but it did come with the 2. The reason why I like the Plastic Soldier Company is for the same price, I get 3 models. I paid it was like $17 shipping. You get 3 models. I've only got 2 assembled here. But when I got the Armorfast, they come with, for the same price essentially, only 2 models. Even when they had a T-34, their T-34 box came with 2 models. I thought maybe because the Panther's a little bit bigger model, same scale, but it's a bigger vehicle, that's why they only put 2 in the box. But their T-34 tank set only comes with 2 models anyway. So Plastic Soldier's giving you a lot more model for the price. So several people have asked, why did you choose 20mm scale? Well, one, it's 15 just seemed a little bit too small for me. I could probably fit a lot more stuff on the table because the 15 is significantly smaller than the 20mm. But I didn't go with 28mm because then that is proportionally a lot bigger and you get fewer things on the table. So this gave me a good compromise of lots of vehicles that you could fit on the table. It just feels like a good size to play with. No giggling. So with like this Armorfast model, for example, since we painted it up, some of the techniques I tried to use with it, I didn't put as much mud, so it's not as caked. I did airbrush the underlying coats, and then for some of the camouflage patterns, they didn't stand out very good when I tried to put the black wash on it. So I ended up by hand going over it again with the camouflage pattern by hand, and then using like the pin, a black, I guess I call it like a pin wash. I just went in and very carefully hit some of the recesses with the black. And for that one, I actually used just acrylic and water, kind of watered down the black acrylic and stuck it in there. So, yeah, your models might not, starting out, look very good. The only way they're going to get better is by practice. So just kind of look on the internet, find what model kits interest you. Armorfast does some really good kits. Plastic Soldier does really, really well. Tomorrow I have a Tiger coming in, which is not from either company. It's just a single model. So I'll take a look at that and show you the difference between a wargaming model. Because a wargaming model is Armorfast. This track assembly was one piece. So it was very few pieces I had to put together. But when you talk about an actual model kit, they're very time intensive and they actually have quite a few pieces. So we'll look at the differences. That way you can decide, well, do I want to buy a whole lot of standalone single models for gaming or buy these specific miniature kits? And I think you would be better off spending time finding miniature kits that come with like 2 or 3 vehicles in a box. That way you can get an army up together a little bit quickly. Because if you go like Amazon.com and were to buy this 20mm scale vehicles, it's going to cost you a lot of money to get a sizable force. Whether it's buying the infantry, and then the tanks themselves are like $10 to $20 for one tank. Just be kind of smart with your shopping. Unfortunately, Plastic Soldier Company has a limited range right now. That's why I had to go Armorfast to get a Panther tank, because they don't make a 20mm Panther tank yet. They have most of the vehicles I want all in 15mm. I just prefer 20. So you're going to have to look around to find the scale that you want. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and sign off, give you your time back. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, comments, just put things down below, and we'll get back to you later. Next time we might be on a tripod instead of my wiggly hand. So see you all later.